This is such a fun story for a Friday. What does your favorite movie say about you? Joe Ripley is in the streaming studio right now. And Joe, I'm fascinated by this story. Tell me everything.
Yeah, so Brian Coley, he is known as the movie whisperer. I call him a film fortune teller of sorts. He actually graduated from NYU Film School, naturally.
Obviously.
Loved movies ever since he was a kid. He loves Moneyball, It's a Wonderful Life, The Sound of Music. He worked at Turner Broadcasting for over a decade and then decided, you know what? I want more to do with movies, and now he's bringing people into his deal.
Oh, yes.
And let's introduce you to the movie whisperer. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Some call Brian Coley the movie whisperer, a film fortune teller, a prophet of the pictures.
So we developed these methods that were around having them find themes and connections and threads inside of their movies. And then when I tried it on just kind of everyday folks, it blew up. People were literally changing their lives based on the insights they were finding in their movies.
Coley, who owns Real Experiences, says movies can reveal who people are, what we want, and what motivates us by tapping into our emotions and personal connections.
When something moves you, whether it's laughter, whether it's tears, whether it's to action, whether it's to just entertainment, it really is speaking to who you are and your story.
Stepping back in time, Coley takes your top 10 movie lists, unique only to you, and leads you on a journey of discovery, finds the intersection where your movies meet your inner self, and links people using motion pictures. And there's one other trick up Coley's sleeve. He can predict the future using Oscar-nominated films.
The Oscars seemingly are irrelevant, but to me, they're the most relevant thing. It's just that we're focused on the party, we're focused on the trophies. What's going on? We should be focusing on the meaning of the movies.
In 2016, Best Picture nominees asked, would we survive? Last year's movie spoke to Defiance, asking who we'd be. And this year, Coley asks, who owns you?
You know, at the end of the day, we are so disconnected as a world. And if I can use movies as a way for people to see each other more clearly, then I want to do that for the rest of my life.
So Coley says he will soon launch what he calls the Real Story Map, Caitlin. It's a way for folks to conduct those real experiences without having to go to that physical location in Marietta.
Okay, but I want to go to Marietta because that is so cool. What was it like to be there in the studio?
He took me on a tour, and you walk in, and it's like you're stepping back in time. He's got like a 50s section, he's got an 80s section, a 70s section, the Matrix room you saw there. He also has lounges where if you go in a group or a couple, coworkers have done this, from, Chick-fil-A, Home Depot, they've all sent folks over there to basically be read, but it's also a way to connect to each other using just the simplest things, what we relate to on an everyday basis like movies.
Okay, so you are such a film guy, so I am fascinated to know what your top 10 said about you.
My top 10. Okay, so it made a little cameo in that story there, but my top 10 basically said I was brave, I was curious,
Yes.
I loved relating to people and advocating for people.
Okay, this is so true. This is so true.
And he used The Lion King. He asked me who was my favorite character from The Lion King. Of course, I said Simba. I had a big stuffed Simba since I was 4 years old, Caitlin. So once he got me to describe Simba, he's like, what does that say about you? I said,
Wow.
Oh. And like the light bulb just went off for me, and it's fascinating. In fact, movies are so connecting, Caitlin. Brian Coley gave me this stat from University of Rochester study that couples that not only watch movies but talk about them afterwards have reduced their divorce rate by 50%.
What?
Isn't that wild?
That is insane.
It's crazy how much movies are relevant in our lives. You may think of them as entertainment, but they're actually an educational and informational tool for us to learn about what we like, what drives us, what motivates us. And it's why I think we keep going back to the movies.
Yeah, that makes so much sense to me. And it's fascinating that he came up with this whole business based on it. I want to talk about the fortune-telling aspect of it because that, too, is fascinating.
Okay, yes. So the fortune-telling aspect, it used to be kind of like a parlor trick, but Brian is so perceptive and can tell so much about people, but it's the subtle way he does it. He doesn't necessarily read you your fortune. He gets you to really break down what you like about these movies that you've come up with on your own, break down the main characters and attributes that describe those characters, and basically gets you to do the work for yourself.
So you're having these realizations, but what does it also say about like our broader culture? Because you said he looks at the
Yeah.
movie of the year and then makes a prediction about what's going to happen next.
Yeah, so it's fascinating how common these themes are between movies. You think, oh, well, these movies are made at different times. They're made years in advance of when they actually come out. They can't possibly have that much in common, but society tells a different story. You think about last year and the defiance aspect of it. We had Defying Gravity, quite literally defiance. Nora won Best Picture about her situation and figuring out who exactly she was and maybe thinking I can rise above those circumstances or maybe not. And then this year, he tried to give me a sneak preview by saying who owns you. There are a lot of father-son, father-daughter relationships, creator-creation relationships when it comes to this year's Best Picture nominees. By the way, I'm rooting for Sinners to win Best Picture. But that personal wish aside, I think he is posing the question of not only who are we going to be, but how are we going to take ownership of our situation, of our world, of our society, when a lot of times it feels like it's being taken over by outside forces, thinking artificial intelligence, world events. You know, I think Brian Coley has a unique gift that he can see in other people. He gave me his top 3 movies, and they were Moneyball, they were It's a Wonderful Life, and The Sound of Music. Ooh. And so in those 3 movies, it's about finding diamonds in the rough, about seeing people as individuals, and it is about advocating for other people on a scale that they may not know. And I think that perfectly encapsulates what Brian Coley brings to the table.
Fascinating story. I absolutely love it. I love the way you told it, but we are going into the weekend, so I'm going to put you on the spot. If people have time this weekend, they have one movie they can watch. What are you telling people to tune into?
For the an Oscar-nominated movie.
Whatever movie you want. Just give me a recommendation.
You should watch Sinners. If
Okay.
you're not into the horror aspect of it, I would say One Battle After Another is right there, neck
Okay.
and neck with it. I think it's going to be one of those two that takes it. But the dark horse for me is Marty Supreme. Timothy Chalamet has an incredible performance in that, and I think a lot of people will appreciate a lot of the movies this year. The Oscars are one of those, honestly, societal events, Caitlin, that everybody talks about. It's water cooler talk the day after. The award ceremony is one thing, but I like what Brian Coley said. He said, what are the movies actually saying? What are the messages of these movies? I think it's fascinating to see who's going to take the prize, but also what that says about where we're headed.
I love it. Joe Ripley, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.